What's up, guys? Jacob over here. Welcome to my official 2018 Green Bay Packers record predictions video. I did one of these a few months ago, back in April when the Packers schedule was first released, but now, since we've completed the draft, since we've had training camp and 53-man rosters are now set, I'm going to do an updated version of this record predictions video. So without further ado, let's get right into it with Week 1 at Chicago, set to tip off just a week from now on Sunday Night Football in front of a national TV audience. The Bears and the Packers will play at Lambeau Field. This is a game that is going to be a little more interesting than I expected when the schedule first dropped. The Bears have improved their team significantly this offseason, and of course the Khalil Mack addition was something that boosted their defense dramatically. This is going to be a much more interesting game than a lot of people think it is, but I still like the Packers in Week 1 against the Bears at home, again at Lambeau Field. We've had their number for quite some time now, and coming in with a guy who's in his second year at quarterback, that's a pretty daunting task to come into Lambeau Field and beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. So I'm going to go with the Packers. I think they win it, but it'll be probably a closer game, maybe a 7 or a 10-point win for Green Bay. In Week 2, we have the Minnesota Vikings at home. It is not a primetime game, but it's going to be a very big game for the Packers. The Vikings and the Packers are the two favorites for the NFC North this year, obviously, but I'm going to go with the Vikings in this game because the NFL is just that unpredictable sometimes. Common sense would say that the Packers are going to win because they're at home, playing in front of the friendly Lambeau Field crowd, but I mean, sometimes things don't go according to plan. I'm going to say the Vikings take this one. The Packers start at 1-1. In Week 3, the Packers play their first road game against the Washington Redskins. The last time the Packers went to Washington to play the Redskins was in 2016, which ended in a 42-24 loss for the Green Bay Packers. Very unfortunate loss when that happened. I remember it very vividly. I think it was a Sunday Night Football game. It was right after that game that the Packers started their run the table, where they won 6 in a row to make the playoffs and then won wild card in the divisional to move to the NFC Championship game. But the Redskins are not that same Redskins team from a few years ago. The Redskins are very mediocre this year, and I expect them to be mediocre, and I expect the Packers to go into Washington and get a victory in Week 3 against the Redskins. In Week 4, the Packers come back home to face the Buffalo Bills. The Packers are a very much better team than the Buffalo Bills, obviously. The Buffalo Bills are mediocre, but they did make the playoffs last season. They have a little bit of postseason experience, but not at quarterback. I expect Josh Allen to be starting a game like this, and I don't expect a rookie quarterback to come into Lambeau Field and beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. This is an easy choice. Packers go to 3-1 and win against Buffalo in Week 4. Week 5, the Packers play Detroit in Detroit. Detroit has always been a tough place for the Packers to play. That being said, I think the Packers are good enough, well enough equipped to go into Detroit and Ford Field and win a game. Matthew Stafford and the Lions offense will not make it easy for them, but the Packers are the better team than the Detroit Lions, and I expect the Packers to win this game, moving themselves to 4-1 on the season. In Week 6, the Packers face the San Francisco 49ers at home at Lambeau Field. This is a game where if the Packers had played in San Francisco, I would have gone with the 49ers. But since the 49ers are coming to Lambeau, I think the Packers are going to get the victory. Jimmy Garoppolo, still a very young quarterback, but has a lot of potential and showed that potential off in the final 6 games of last season after he was traded to the Patriots to the 49ers from the Patriots, I should say. To me, Jimmy Garoppolo is one of the most Aaron Rodgers-like quarterbacks I've ever seen. He is a fantastic talent, and he's going to give this Green Bay defense some hard times, but I think in the end, the Green Bay offense will prevail, and the Packers will move to 5-1 on the season. Week 7 is a bye, but Week 8 is where the meat of this Packers schedule comes into full force. The Packers have to play 2 road games in Weeks 8 and Weeks 9. The first of those road games is at Los Angeles to face the Rams. This is going to be an incredibly tough game for the Packers to win, and to be honest, I expect it to be close, but I don't think the Packers are going to end up winning. The Packers in years past have been different teams at home versus on the road, and the Rams have a very, very potent offensive unit, and the Packers will do their best to keep up, but in the end, I'm going to give the advantage to the home team and the Los Angeles Raiders, or Rams, I should say, not Raiders, and I'm going to say that the Packers move to 5-2 after this loss. In Week 9, the Packers have to travel from Los Angeles to Foxborough, Massachusetts to take on the New England Patriots and Tom Brady in one of the toughest places to play in all of sports, Gillette Stadium. This is going to be a very, very tough game for the Packers to win, and I do not see them winning it. Winning games in Foxborough is incredibly difficult, and especially the fact that the Packers have to travel all the way across the country in 1 week's time and get themselves prepared as if nothing happened. And of course, they might also be coming off of a loss to the Los Angeles Rams. This is going to be tough. It's going to be a great game, though, I'm sure. Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, whenever these two meet, they've only met once before, a 26-21 victory that went the Packers way back in 2014 at Lambeau Field. But this game is going to be at Gillette Stadium, and a close game like this, I got to give the edge to Tom Brady and the Patriots. They are virtually unbeatable at Gillette Stadium, so the Packers are going to drop to 5-3, unfortunately, after this loss. After their encounter with Tom Brady and the Patriots, the Packers come back to the friendly confines of Lambeau Field to face the Miami Dolphins, a game that they should be able to win. This is a trap game, though. This is a game that really concerns me. I still think the Packers are going to win, but let's say the Packers beat Tom Brady and beat the Rams, and they move to like 7-1 on the season. I have them at 5-3 though. Let's say they win both of those games. They come home. They think they have an easy matchup with the Miami Dolphins, and then Miami comes in and shocks them. This has happened before. They lost to Miami at home in the 2010 season. That was the first Packer game I actually ever went to. So I have very not so fond memories of that game as we lost in overtime. But the Packers should be able to win this game as long as they keep their heads straight and don't get too far ahead of themselves. But it is a trap game, and it's one that I hope the Packers are prepared for. They move to 6-3 on the season after they win this one. After the Miami game, the Packers have to go back to the West Coast to face the Seattle Seahawks in CenturyLink Field, a stadium that they probably don't have the fondest memories of. We will not go further into detail on that, but the Seattle Seahawks are not the team that they were 4 years ago this season. That being said, CenturyLink Field is still a very, very, very tough place to play. I'm going to say the Seattle Seahawks get the upset and the Packers move to 6-4. A lot of people might not like that prediction for me, but that's how I see it. I mean, this is a very, very tough part of this Packers schedule, and it's going to be tough for them to win even 2 or 3 games during this part. So you gotta hope that the Packers can get victories on the beginning part of their schedule and on the tail end of their schedule, because this stretch of games is going to be very, very tough for them. I think Seattle wins, and I think they move to 6-4 on the season. Now we move to Week 12, where the Packers have to go to Minnesota to face the Minnesota Vikings in a stadium that they've never beaten the Vikings in, or won a game for that matter in. This is probably going to be a very popular pick for the Packers to lose, for many Packers fans and NFL fans alike. However, I think the Packers win this game. After going 1-3 in the previous 4 games leading up to this game, I think the Packers bounce back. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be ticked off. I think he's going to be sick of the losing, and I think he's going to lead the Packers to a victory, moving them to 7-4 on the season. Obviously, a very tough place to play in Minnesota. The crowd is very loud, but the Packers have grown accustomed to hostile environments, playing in Los Angeles, Foxborough, and Seattle over the past 4 weeks leading up to this game. The Packers are going to be prepared. They're going to be hungry for a victory, and they're going to do just that. They're going to go into Minnesota and get the victory, moving them to 7-4 on the season. In Week 13, the Packers' schedule lightens up a little bit. They face the Arizona Cardinals, who are in a bit of a rebuilding mode right now. They face them at Lambeau Field as well. This should be an easy Packers victory. I can't imagine that they wouldn't win this game. The Arizona Cardinals are probably not going to be prepared to go into Lambeau Field and defeat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers at this point in the season, so I'm going to go with the Packers in this one. In Week 14, the Packers once again are at home to face the Atlanta Falcons, a team that has given them a bit of trouble over the past few seasons, but this time the Packers are going to be playing in the friendly confines of Lambeau Field, and I think they're going to get the victory over the Falcons, a team that has had their number the past couple of seasons. The Falcons haven't played at Lambeau Field since 2014. They're going to play there in this game, and I think the Packers are going to come out at 9-4 with a victory. In Week 15, the Green Bay Packers will travel to the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois to face the Chicago Bears. This is going to be, I think it's going to be a pretty close game as well, similar to the first game of the season. But the Packers at this point in the season are going to be in full playoff mode, while the Bears might not be. I don't expect the Bears to be contending for the playoffs at this point in the season. The Packers are going to need a couple more victories to get into the playoffs at this point in the season. So the Packers are going to be able to beat the Bears, I would assume, and move their record to 10-4 on the season. In Week 16, the Packers have to go on the road to MetLife Stadium to face the New York Jets. This will not be a very challenging road game for the Packers, I would assume. The Jets are not expected to be very good this year, and at this point in the season, I expect them to be fighting for maybe their second or third win in the entire year. So this shouldn't be a too challenging of a game for the Packers, although road games are much tougher than playing them at home at Lambeau Field. But I think the Packers will take care of business and move to 11-4 on the season. For the final game of this regular season, the Packers come back home to face the Detroit Lions in Week 17. I expect this game to have some major playoff implications, but I do expect the Packers to also win. They play the Detroit Lions for what seems like the millionth time in a row in the final game of the regular season. They do have them at home. I think they're going to end up getting the victory at home in the final game of the regular season. Aaron Rodgers at home in the month of December is very, very tough to beat. I think the Packers finish at 12-4. As for the playoffs, I am not going to do any predictions for them until they actually happen, so if the Packers do make the playoffs, I will have my playoff predictions out there for you guys to see. But in the meantime, I predict the Packers to go 12-4 this season and finish with a first-round bye. I don't know if they're going to get a first or a second seed, but I do expect them to win the NFC North. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Those are my predictions for the Packers this season. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.